Do you need isolation feet on your subwoofer?
There's no downside, but you're going to see a lot more benefit if you actually have issues within your room, like windows rattling. If you have knickknacks that are falling off the wall when you're really pushing your subwoofer. Basically, what it does is it decouples the isolation system are these little feet, and they fit on other subwoofer brands too, not just SVS. And you screw them onto the bottom of your sub, and it decouples it from the floor. So any energy, any vibrational force that's been going into the floors and walls will now be redirected into the air. And again, that just keeps you from getting some of those distracted, light fixtures moving around. In the case of my colleague Larry, he knocked all of his wife's makeup into the toilet
Oh,
because she
no.
had it right on the edge of the counter. And that was not a
Mm.
good day for Larry because he had to drop like 400
Poor
bucks at
Larry.
Ulta to replace it all.
That's
Which,
actually a really great product that you guys sell. I feel like they tighten up the bass a little bit. Now I know that maybe it's acoustic, if I just invented that word.
No, Don, it's not. I
It make
actually
a difference.
at CES last year well, let's just say at CES last year, I interviewed some people after they heard the exact same set of speakers with isolation feet and without it, and
Right.
every single
Everybody
person,
heard a difference. Yeah.
everybody heard a difference, and it was the exact same speakers with and without. And I would say if you're on a second level, like if you're on the second story of a home, it's even more important. I had a customer that added them in after having his home theater for a year and a half, and I had him do a testimonial because he was just raving to me at how much better the bass response was. Because instead of just reverberating through the floor joists and the walls, you're decoupling it, like Nick said, and you're feeling the bass hit you rather than just the reverb of the room.
Another thing that you can use them for it, and I know Nick has seen a lot of clients stack multiple subs, and when you stack subs on top of each other, that's another great use for those isolation feet.
Yeah,
That I
no, those are all
recommend.
great points. And, I should have mentioned, I know a lot of subwoofer mythology has been around pissing off the neighbors, but when you add the isolation system, you can actually, be a
Help
better neighbor, especially if you have
a
a
little bit.
townhouse or if you're closely residing next to somebody and their windows are rattling. It just helps attenuate some of that. I actually have a kid in college right now, and I set him up with a nice little 2.1 system for his dorm room, and he had 3 or 4 noise complaints in the first semester. So I sent him a couple of
Who
these
complains
isolation
about
systems.
noise in college?
The RA, people studying, like, come on, what are we here for? We're here to listen to
Really?
music and party. Who needs to
Really?
study? Yeah, finals time, they have like, whatever, dark hours and whatnot. I think he got a little overzealous.
Oh,
So, they can work for that. We've also had people use them for components to allow better airflow. You
Yep.
put them on amplifiers, things that create heat, gives you a little better airflow. People use them on turntables,
Yeah.
where, vibrational energy can affect sort of the performance of, the tone arm and things like that. And then the last example, we have one customer who's put them on pretty much every product that he has, all of his speakers, all of his subwoofers, and he loved it so much he actually put it on his dryer because his dryer, I think he probably just puts too much crap in it, but like it was shaking so much that he's like,
Really?
you know what? It kept it from moving across the floor, and his laundry room was on the second floor, and he was like, I'm not sure we're going to use that as a case study, but if it works for you,
Not a
buddy,
bad
like,
idea.
more power
No,
to you.
and
One
I
of
think
the one of
that's
the
an
biggest
important part.
benefits or issues that we've run into or had struggle with are sconces rattling, and it really helps cut back on the depending on the sconce you have. Just that's one of the biggest problems we've had in home theater setting them up is just those sconces. Everybody wants to go with fancy, nice looking sconces that match the decor, but they rattle like crazy. So the isolation feet help out big time.
No, he's right.
Yeah.
It's funny too. There's this like segment of people who, maybe they're in denial, but they like the rattle. They like, because that's part of the experience is hearing my windows go or like hearing this, stuff all around my room shaking. And then, they'll get a set of these and they're like, oh no, it's way better now. Like I'm actually feeling and experiencing what the director, the artist, whoever intended me to, and it's not my room sort of adding this resonant effect that is more distracting than anything.
People
So,
like the rattle.
yeah, and it's like until they experience without it, and then it's like, wait, okay, now I'm more immersed. I'm feeling the content a little bit more, convincingly, I guess you could say, and it's sort of an eye opener.
I will say, when I was reviewing your the SB3000s, I had them placed both in the front of the room, left and right. and I started watching. I think it was Godzilla vs Kong. I was like, wow. I was like, wow. I was like, something is up with that sub on the right side of the room. It sounds like it's broken or something like that because it was just overly barren, just boomy. And then it took me like a few minutes. It took me like 15 minutes. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, oh, I got the feet. I put the feet on the one side,
Oh,
and I didn't have it on the other side. It was just I think there's little points on them or something like that. And then
Yeah,
I
there's a
it's real. It's
yeah,
a real effect.
it's a real thing. And then I put the feet on. And I was like, oh, I was like, there it is. Like all that rattling, the boominess was just gone on the right side now. Everything was very tightly focused. Listen, I didn't believe it myself, and I was just like, I just put them on there just because I feel like sometimes I'll flip them upside down because it makes it easier to slide across the floor. And then it really doesn't matter. So I always kind of use them upside down. But then after I heard the difference, I was like, oh man, these are actually legit. They actually do work. None of this shit that you guys write on your website is like BS. So this is like the truth. And I've got so many pairs of these because I've had so many subwoofers in my room. I think I've had like maybe 8 subs at one point in time. So I had to go to Magnolia and buy a bunch of them because I didn't want to hit you up for some freebies. so I went and bought so many of them, and now I have like almost like 2 dozen of these of those feet now in my room. And I put them on every subwoofer that I
It's
get.
like, why we got to talk about the cheapest product we make?
honestly, like,
I was
But-
actually about to say, I mean, you guys make amazing subwoofers, but one category that isn't really discussed a whole lot is your really
Isolation feet.
Yeah.
affordable and
Great
growing
product.
accessory lineup. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, Nick?
yeah, I'd love to. I will say, one of the things that we've been, I wouldn't say criticized, but people are like, well, if these isolation system, if these feet are so great, why don't they just come standard on every subwoofer? And simple answer is they add a little bit of cost, and
Yeah.
we're always trying to deliver best performance for the price. And the other side is if you have a concrete subfloor, if you built a bunker for your home theater, you're not going to notice the benefits as much. So it's a $50 expense for the four pack, $60 for the 6-pack. So it's not an exorbitant amount for somebody to have to buy after the fact if they are noticing these things. But to your point, Zach, yeah, the accessories have become one of the fastest growing parts of our business.
Cool.
Because again, we're trying to bring the same kind of value proposition that we've done with subwoofers and speakers, that really sort of high end look and feel and performance, and not feeling like you're compromising, but doing it at a price point that's a little bit more inclusive. We've got premium speaker cable, but then we've also got bulk speaker cable that comes in spools. We ventured into HDMI as well, 8K, 2.1A certified. So, all the latest specs on there. Wireless adapters for your subwoofer. If people don't want to have to, they're putting it in the back of their room, they don't want a long cable run. The wireless adapters, the original version, then a tri-band version, which allows you to basically cycle through different bandwidths and find the most stable of those bandwidths within your home network to create the best wireless connection to your subwoofer. And then RCA, optical, XLR, pretty much everything that you would need to connect all of your speaker and subwoofer system together is available from our SoundPath accessory line. And that's part of what we're trying to do is, again, not to grow out of that. SVS is a subwoofer company, and certainly that's our pedigree. We're never going to walk away from that. We're never going to take that for granted. But if we can bring what we've brought to the subwoofer game to accessories and to speakers, then we think we're doing a good thing. So that's why to Zach's point, they go sort of under the radar a little bit. But when you look at what is growing within the SVS side of things, they are one of the fastest growing parts of our business, and they've been just a real success for us in terms of building our brand beyond subwoofers.